So I wanted to do a video on why I still say Gennady Golovkin is untested. Now I'm not going to go into possible areas of frailty, possible weaknesses that can be exploited with him. I've done a few videos like that in the past. I've had a few debates with people in the comment section. I'm going to save that today for another occasion. But this is purely my thoughts on Gennady Golovkin being untested and my thoughts on him not really having fought the level of opposition to be pound for pound level. Now I can't dispute, and when I say pound for pound level, I mean pound for pound top 10. I cannot dispute that at present GGG looks like the #1 middleweight. I also cannot dispute that, you know, he's been absolutely dominant in terms of the fashion that he's gone about taking care of business. You know, he's looked really, really good, I don't dispute that. However, can someone genuinely be a top 10 pound for pound fighter if they haven't fought a guy who's top 5 in their own division? Now, I'm not saying that Gennady Golovkin isn't being ducked. I'm not saying that it isn't very hard to find him opponents. He's very much an avoided man. Nevertheless, you know, realistically, how can we call him pound for pound when he hasn't fought the top 5? And I think this is highlighted by a comment reported on Boxing Scene today by his trainer Abel Sanchez, who came out with the comment that Martin Murray is by far the best opponent we've ever faced. I think there's some truth in that statement. You know, Golovkin has fought some top 15 level middleweights before. Daniel Geale was top 15. Arguably, Daniel Geale may have even been top 10. But he wasn't top 5. He'd been beaten by Darren Barker the year previous, which is, you know, dubious level of competition. Marco Antonio Rubio, yeah, a solid operator. But in my opinion, by the time that fight occurred, you know, past his best, not a top 10 middleweight. Curtis Stevens, again, a solid contender. Unspectacular though. We recently saw him absolutely whitewashed by Hassan and Dam and Jikum. You know, for me, the calibre of opposition hasn't been top 5 middleweight. And by top 5 middleweight, I'm referring to a few names. I mean, let me start by saying that the middleweight top 5 is about to become a lot clearer, because quite good matchups have been made. Hassan and Dam and Jikum is fighting David Lemieux for the IBF title. I think we can all agree that the winner of that fight is definitely a top 5 middleweight. And either one of those guys, I'd love to fight Golovkin. Peter Quillin is fighting Andy Lee for the WBO belt. I'm sure we can agree that the winner of that fight is a top 5 middleweight. I'd probably go further and say the winner of that fight behind Golovkin is definitely the #2 middleweight. Then we've got Miguel Cotto. Now obviously Miguel Cotto is a bit of a difficult one because he's been very inactive. It's unclear whether he considers himself to be a middleweight or a light middleweight. But let's just say this. Miguel Cotto, you know, he beat Sergio Martinez, whatever state Martinez is in, and he is the lineal middleweight champion. So I think it'd be wrong not to throw his name into the mix. So you got those guys, Quillin, Lee, and Dam, Lemieux, Cotto. For me, those are all good matchups for Gennady Golovkin. There's others who I'd throw into the mix as well. Billy Joe Saunders is a fighter I'm a long-time fan of. Chris Eubank versus GGG. You know, I know Chris Eubank looked poor against Billy Joe Saunders, but he's rebuilding. Potentially that could be an entertaining fight. Or the winner of Chudinov, Eubank Jr. to fight GGG. Martin Murray, a fight which is obviously taking place on Saturday. There's also guys from the lower divisions stepping up who I think would be excellent matchups. Lara, Austin Trout, Demetrius Andrade, Saul Canelo Alvarez. There's guys at 168 who'd be an entertaining matchup. Ward, Geale, Carl Frotz. You know, the list of opponents out there to fight GGG I'd say there's a good 15 solid contenders in that fight. 15 guys who I would give at least a fighting chance against Gennady Golovkin. I'm not saying they beat him, but 15 guys that I'd look at and say, wow, that's a real competitive fight. They bring something different to the table. David Lemieux, he's a massive puncher. Hassan Ndam, he's a great mover. Andre Ward, he's a great technician. You know, Demetrius Andrade, he's a really awkward southpaw who's quite well rounded. You know, there's a load of guys for Golovkin still to fight. I don't buy into this thing that Golovkin has completely wiped out the middleweight division. It's a phrase that's used too often, in my opinion. He's beat Curtis Stevens. He's beat Matthew Macklin. He's beaten Marco Antonio Rubio. You know, he's beaten Daniel Geale, which is probably his best win today. But for me, only one of those guys, Daniel Geale, even has a claim of being a top 10 middleweight. He's never fought a top 5 middleweight, in my opinion. I'm not interested in the rankings. I don't care how the Ring magazine ranked Geale, or whether he was ranked highly in some promotional body. I'm talking about public consensus. We know Daniel Geale isn't one of the top 5 fighters at 160, so don't even argue that he is. So I think not only is there that breadth of fighters at 160 I'd like to see him fight, there's also fighters at 154 and 168. You know, potentially the 154 guys could move up, for example. There's a lot of guys like Andrade, Alvarez, you know, who are towards the bigger end of light middleweight anyway, so maybe they could make 160. So, for me, Gennady Golovkin is still untested, at least at a pound-for-pound level. You know, he hasn't faced an elite-level power puncher at middleweight. He hasn't faced what I'd consider to be an elite-level inside fighter at middleweight. He hasn't faced what I'd consider to be an elite-level mover at middleweight. And unfortunately, Martin Murray, whilst he probably is Gennady Golovkin's best opponent to date, I wouldn't consider him to be an elite-level puncher, an elite-level mover, an elite-level, you know, inside fighter. There's still gaps in the CV. Now, this isn't hating on Golovkin. He's clearly got a lot of potential. I rate him very, very highly based on what we've seen so far. But it is too early to start considering him a pound-for-pound top 10 fighter. If you look at guys like Sergei Kovalev, you know, he's beaten a much higher level of fighter at light heavyweight than Golovkin has at middleweight. Bernard Hopkins, Nathan Cleverly, obviously he's got a fight scheduled against John Pascal. So I still need more proof on Gennady Golovkin. I think there's more fights out there for him, and he hasn't wiped out the division. He's never fought a top 5 middleweight. I think Abel Sanchez's comment today totally proves that statement. Martin Murray is the toughest opponent we've ever faced. Let's be honest. Martin Murray isn't a world beater. I know it was close fights against Felix Sturm. I know it was very close fights against Sergio Martinez. But he didn't get his hand raised on either occasion. He's not a spectacular operator. He's solid enough, but not spectacular really in any area. He may have a semi-elite defence and durability. But the fact that Martin Murray, according to this guy's own trainer, is the best opponent he's ever been in with, really does highlight, to me at least, that there are still tests out there for him, and that this guy is quite some way from wiping out the division. At this point, I see Peter Quillin, Gennady Golovkin as a 50-50 fight. I know that comment will inspire a lot of laughing at me, but that's the way I see it. And that's the great thing about boxing, is that it gives you eyes for these kind of debates. Let me know your thoughts. If you're going to comment disagreeing with me, that's fine. I would really appreciate it if someone could give me a well-reasoned argument that Gennady Golovkin has actually fought a top 5 middleweight. I would really appreciate that. And I'm not saying Daniel Geale was ranked a number by some alphabet organisation. I'm saying in terms of who is the best at 160, Can somebody please give me a reasoned argument that this guy has fought a top 5 middleweight? And if that's not the case, if you agree with me that he's never fought a top 5 middleweight, even if that's not his fault, and even if the opponents are ducking him, how can you consider him a pound for pound top fighter when he's never even fought a top 5 fighter in his own division? I'd really be interested to receive comments giving reasoned arguments on those fronts. Thanks for watching.